Welcome to Engineers Academy. Subscribe to my channel and click on the bell icon to receive the notification for the upcoming videos. Today in this lesson we are going to learn the if statements. So the syntax for the if statement is that we need to write if first, then we need to write some logical expression. Let's suppose if I write x is greater than 0, and then we will write some statement. Let's suppose if x is greater than 0, so I want to take the square root of this x and I want to store it in z. So I will write z is equal to square root of x if x is greater than 0. And then what I will do for each f, I will write int. So for this we need to ask the user to enter the value of x. Let's suppose I write x is equal to input, and I will write enter any integer. So I am asking the user to enter an integer. So now if I run this, so it will ask the user to enter an integer. So let's suppose if I enter 8. So now it took the square root of x. And let's suppose if I enter again this script file, and this time I enter negative number, so it will do nothing. So this means that when we use if statement, so there is only one condition and only one statement can be evaluated at a time. So let's suppose if we have one another condition, so then we can write else as well. So for I will write else. So now if x is negative, let's suppose, so I want to display on screen that tell me that integer is negative. Let's suppose integer is negative. So I want to display this on screen. Here I will write, I will also display and this time here I will write positive. So now if I run this, and now if I write 8, so it says that integer is positive, right? And it says that integer is positive and it took the square root of this x. Let me suppress this. I do not want to display this. Now if I modify this code, so if I write if x is greater than 10, and then I want to enter one another condition, so then instead of else I will have to write else if. And then let's suppose if I want to write x is greater than 0. First I want to check if x is greater than 10. So if x is greater than 10, so it will display the integer is positive and it will take the square root of x. And then if x is less than 0, and here if x is still greater than 0, if still x is positive, so then what it will do, it will, let's suppose I write here that z is equal to 2 multiplied by x. I want to multiply it by 2. And then if x is negative, so I want to write one another else, right? So if, else if, and then else. So we have more than 2 logical conditions. So first it will check if x is greater than 10. So it will display the integer is positive and it will take the square root of that number. And if the integer is positive and less than 10, so it will multiply it by 2. And else if the number is negative, so it will display that the number is negative. So now let's run this script file. So if I run this, so if I enter 8, so then it multiplied it by 2. And now if I run it again, and this time I enter 12, let's suppose, so it says that the integer is positive and the square root of the integer is, let me make it clear. So I will write square root is, let's suppose, right? And here we can write display, and here I can write x is positive, x is positive and less than 10. So it will display this message as well. So now if I run this, so now if I enter 8, so it says that x is positive and less than 10, so it multiplied it by 2. And now if I run it again, this time if I write 12, so it only displayed the message the square root is, so it took the square root. We can also write here is like this, that and x is greater than 10. We can display this message as well. So now if I run it again, so if I write 18, square root is and x is greater than 10. So the display message is not a very good statement. We can modify it. We can write it like this: x is greater than 10 and its square root is. We can display the message like this. So now if I run this and I write 7, so this time it says that x is positive and less than 10, so it multiplied it by 2. And now if I give minus 10, let's suppose, so it will display the message that integer is negative, and we have nothing to do with the negative number, so nothing is done with the negative number and only the message is displayed. If I write it here, let's suppose if I write z is absolute of x, we need to take the absolute. We want to make that number positive. So now if I run this and this time I enter minus 10, so this time it says that the integer is negative and this time it took the absolute of x. So this is if only if statement, then if else statement, and this is if else if statement. So now let me write a simple program for a quadratic equation, and we want to check the roots of a quadratic equation. If the roots of a quadratic equation are imaginary, real and equal, and real and unequal. So what we will do first, we will ask the user to enter the coefficients of x square, x, and constant, the coefficient of constant. So let's suppose I write a and I ask the user to input. I will write that enter the coefficient of x square. Right, so enter the coefficient of x square, and I will write this, and then let me copy this 2 times. So I will modify this, so I will write b, and here I will write c, and here I will write x to the power 1 and x to the power 0. And now we will write them in a polynomial. So I will make a polynomial from these. So this is a, b, and c. So now what we did is that we combined this a, b, c coefficients in a polynomial. So we made a row vector from these a, b, c coefficients. So now, and let me do it in some other way as well. So okay, let me write it like this, and now I want to write the if else statement. So now if I write if b square minus 4a into c, if this is equal to 0, b square minus 4ac, we know the solution of quadratic equation, which is equal to minus b plus minus b square minus 4ac under the root divided by 2a. So these are the this is the equation to find the roots of a quadratic equation. So if we write it like this, so now if I write this, that b square minus 4ac, if this is 4 multiplied by a multiplied by c, if this is equals to, so remember that for logical expression we need to write two equal sign. So if b square minus 4ac is equals to this, so display the message that the roots are equal, and then we will find roots and will store that roots in our variable. So I will write roots, and then we will find the roots of polynomial that we have made from the coefficients of this. And then there is another condition, so we need to write else if. So this time if b square minus 4ac, if this is less than 0, so then display that the roots are imaginary. The roots are imaginary. And then we can find the root, so we can copy this instruction as well. So I will write, copy paste it here, so it will determine the roots in this case. And then there is another third condition, so then we need to write only else statement. There is no another condition, so then there is no need to write else if statement. So if we had some other condition, so then we could add another logical expression by using else if. If there is no other condition, so then we will only write else statement. So if I write else, so then this time display the roots are real and unequal. The roots are real and equal. So these three messages will be displayed according to the condition. So and then for if we need to write end. So for each if, for else if there is no need to write end, but for each if we need to write the end. So if I run this, so it says that enter the coefficient of x square. So let's suppose I enter 2. Then it says enter the coefficient of x1, so I enter 4, let's suppose. And then it says enter the coefficient of constant, so I will write 3. And it says that the roots are imaginary and these are the roots. Now let me write clear and CLC here. Now again if I run this, and let's suppose I write 1 minus 4 and 4, let's suppose. So now the roots are real and equal. In MATLAB we can write nested if statements. Nested if statements. So what is meant by nested if statements? So in nested if statements we can write another if statement inside the existing if statement. So the syntax will look like this. So we will write if, so logical expression for this first if, and then there will be another if inside this first if. And for this if we will for the second if we will like the we will write the logical expression and then the statement for this second if. And if we want to write the else for this second if, so we can write it. So let me write an example for nested if statements. So let's suppose if I write a very simple script file. So if I write first, let me ask the user to input an integer. So I will write input enter an integer. So I will ask the user to input an integer, and then if I write if x is greater than 0, if x is positive, and then I want to execute another if, and then I want to write if x is greater than 10. If x is positive, and then I want to check if x is greater than 10, so then I want to divide it this number. So if I write z and then I write x divided by 2, let's suppose, and here I display a message that display divide by 2, let's suppose, divide by 2, and then if I write else, then if x is positive and it's less than 10, so I want to multiply it by 2, so I will write z is equal to 2 multiplied by x, let's suppose, and here I want to display, the display function is only disp, so I want to display, and I want to display multiply by 2, and I will end this second if statement, so I will write end for this if statement, and MATLAB highlights that if for which the end is written, so if I write end, so this if is highlighted. Now if we want to execute some statement, let's suppose if I want to write display the integer is positive, and if I write int, so now if I run this, and let's suppose if I enter 12, and so it says that divide by 2, so it has divided by 2, and we have suppressed the result. So let me unsuppress this result, let me remove the semicolon, and let me give a space here. Let's suppose if I give space, now if I run, if I write 12, so it says that 12 is greater than 0, so it's positive. So then the second if check that if the x is greater than 10, so yes, it's greater than 10, so it has divided that number by 2, and it then executed this end statement. The if x is greater than 10, this statement executed, and then it comes to the end, and then after that since if x is greater than 0, so still we are in this if command line, so this will execute this statement as well. So if I write this statement here or here, so there will be no difference in this. So if I run this again, and let's suppose if I enter 20, so it says that the integer is positive and it is greater than 10. So when it is greater than 10, so the script file divided it by 2, so the answer is 10. Now let's suppose if I want to write another else statement in the first if, so I can write else statement, so this will be else, and this time I want to display that the integer is negative, let's suppose, so I write negative. So now this time if I enter negative number, let's suppose if I run this, and if I write, let's suppose, -2, so if I write -2 and then it checks that x is not greater than 0, so it directly comes to this else statement, and in this else statement it displays the integer is negative. So this is the syntax for writing the nested if statement. So we can write as many if statement inside another if statement. So we can use the if statement like this. We can also use compound logical expression. Let's suppose if I write if x is greater than -50 and if x is less than 50, so I want to display x is in range, else display x is not in range. and for each if we need to write end as well, so I will write end, right? And then we need to ask the user to enter the value of x. Okay, so now if I run this, so now what this script file will do, that it will ask the user to enter any integer. So then it will check if the entered number, that is the entered integer, is between this range, this is between -50 and +50. So then it will display that x is in range, and if it is greater than 50 or -50, smaller than -50, so then